Hey everybody, this is Mike. Robbie's going to join me in a second. Pretty stoked about today's guest. It's Steve Del Monte from Delmo Sports, and he's a race director for Ironman 70.3 Atlantic City, among other events, which are Escape the Cape Triathlon, Atlantic City Triathlon, Try the Wildwoods, and Escape Toulouse Open Water Swim Classic, which looks amazing. You can find all these events at delmosports.com. Check it out. Kick back and get inside the mind of a super energetic and passionate race director right now on the Crushing Iron podcast. What's up, buddy?
Hey, man, how are you?
I'm good, man. I guess you're busy today, huh?
Man, I am slammed today. I was off work yesterday at home with Hayden because he was sick, so I'm playing catch up today, but had this awesome podcast penciled in for today. I'm pretty excited about our guest and don't want to miss it, so I'm going to make it work.
Yeah, I'm pretty stoked, too. We've been wanting to get a race director on here, and I think we got one of the best.
That's the room.
Yeah, that's what everybody keeps talking about. Steve, are you there?
I'm here, man.
All right. Thanks for coming on, man. Where are you at right now?
I'm located in Wildwood, New Jersey.
Wildwood, yeah. And that's one of your triathlons, right? Is in Wildwood? Is that what I was...
That's correct. Try the Wildwoods Triathlon 5K and kids race. It's the first race I ever produced 14 years ago. And that's where I born and raised, man. So
excellent. I think I read it was voted the best short triathlon in the country. Is that right?
Yeah, so Triathlon Business International put out a survey to all the producers out there, and they were able to, you had the chance to send it out to your athletes saying, hey, vote for what you think is great. And we were lucky enough to be named Best Small Triathlon, which is under 1,000 triathletes.
Wow.
And Best Beginner Triathlon in the U.S. So we're very proud of that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And psyched.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I was looking at some of the videos, and man, you do a really good job with keeping athletes involved and letting them know what's going on. And I think that is just, I don't know, it feels like it might be a rarity to me, but
it's definitely a rarity. It's amazing how people don't talk to their customers. I don't understand it.
Yeah, Steve, that was one of my first questions. Was just in looking over your race portfolio and then your website. I don't necessarily even know of any other race directors that provide so much content, especially video content, for their current customers and obviously hopeful potential customers. Basically, of any triathlon I've done in the last 10 years. Well, why do you think that is?
I started doing video about 6 years ago, and with a flip cam. And if there's a throwback, right?
Yeah,
the flip cam.
And yeah, and to me, you know what? I started doing video because I was apologizing to athletes most of the time. I was like, listen, I'm really sorry, I screwed this one up. Just hang with me, I'll make it right. And those things caught on, and then I started doing different things. Like, well, you don't just have to say you're sorry. You could just say, hey, this is what we're going to be doing next. Mm-hmm. Or this is something else we're introducing, and it resonated with the athletes. And so there was no one at the time doing talking to their customers, and I just kind of ran with it, man. And I was pretty good at it. The athletes, I'm able to look at an iPhone or a camera and talk to it as if it's a person, because at the end of the day, it's not just a person; it's thousands of athletes that are giving you money. They're trusting you with their money and their time. The most important thing is their time. So I'm able to just kind of treat it as though it's a regular person, have a real conversation. To me, I think the athlete, when they look into it, they're like, man, he's talking to me. He means it. And so, hey, the good, the bad, the ugly is out there on video for us. That's how it started. Guys, that's how it started. And the athletes say, oh, I watch your show. I'm like, I don't have a show. It's a video.
It's a show, man. I was super impressed by, I think it was the Cape.
Escape the Cape.
Escape the Cape. Yeah, the video you did about the swim when you actually gave people a look at sighting from out at the turn buoy. I mean, that was killer.
Well, yeah, I mean, people want to know.
Yeah.
And people want to know, and I want them to know. The last thing I want an athlete to do is to come on site at one of our events and say, I didn't know. Because I want to be able to say, did you watch the video? Did you read the athlete guide? Did you go on the website? Were you on Facebook? Did you go to Instagram? Did you hit YouTube? Like, I'm just going to crush them with, so you're in a cave for the last 12 months except to submit a registration. Other than that, you had no idea. So I want to give every athlete an opportunity to succeed. And to me, video is key. I've seen other race directors try and do it and fail miserably. And I don't say that to be mean. It's just like they just don't like it. You could tell they don't like being on camera. They don't like that, man, if these athletes might be able to tell that I'm full of it and not being sincere.
No, I think and I think you hit it, was the only ones that I've seen is you see race directors that are focused on, are more, obviously they handle the logistic part and have very little customer service experience, where you really take, like, at least from the videos, the service-minded approach in serving your customers, and you have that personality, which I think is, from what I read, is also obviously a part of your background. I mean, you can't be a teacher and not be able to be outgoing and personable.
I started teaching. I was a college baseball player, and
yeah. So was I.
I'm just going to go ahead and log off the podcast, because here we go. Jesus.
Here we go.
And the Pearl Jam guy.
Yeah, I won't get into it, but I sucked. Moving on.
Oh, well, at least
anywho, I had a teaching degree, and I started teaching public school, South Philadelphia Middle School on the west side of Broad. And if anyone out there doesn't know that, it is a very rough neighborhood. And these kids, you got to think now, 11, 12, 13 years old, very street smart, have experiences at their ages that most people will never experience, and they can sniff out insincerity in less than 3 seconds. So you better be real. And I never had a discipline problem. I could communicate with these kids because I was doing what I love to do. And they could tell. And you become that person that cares about them that nobody else cares about. So you have this rapport. And I took that from teaching. I went into my family's. My family was in the hotel motel business, very small, family owned and operated in the Wildwoods. That's how we make our living there. I did that for 10 years, and I grew up in the business, so I knew, this was my family's hotel business. It all mattered. They didn't collect the paycheck. It was, if we don't do a good job, we don't get paid.
Right.
And I also translated into, when I got married, my in-laws were in the restaurant business. So I was doing hotel motel. I went from a teaching background to hotel motel, restaurant business. So it's all customer service. Yeah. It's all customer service. So, and that's what I took to triathlon, and how I started my business in triathlon. I would not recommend any race director whatsoever. I was not worried about making money at all. I was willing to go negative, because I was doing something else, but I love triathlon. I love producing it. It gave me a rush like I'd never felt before. And I'm like, you know what? I only lost $5,000 this year. It's all right. I can cover that. And smart people don't go into it like that.
And, sounds like our approach, dude.
Yeah, exactly. So at the end of the day, I was just concerned 100% with athlete satisfaction. That's all that mattered to me. It was not bottom line. It didn't matter how much things cost. I didn't care. It was, how do I create an athlete that goes, man, I don't want to do any other races but yours because you go all out. And it evolved. And I started doing it full time in 2013. And that's when, your family says, you're going to do this full time. God bless you. Go for it. Paycheck stops. 401k stops. Healthcare stops. It all stops. And now it's like, now you got to make some money. Like, you really got to make some money right now. You got 2 kids, you got a mortgage, you got things going on. So I'm lucky enough where I just cultivated that raving fan culture, and I didn't do it by reading a book. It's just how I was wired. And the other stuff followed. A lot of times people get into it and they're like, bottom line, bottom line, bottom line. If we upset the athlete, oh, well, it's good for the bottom line.
Yeah.
You know what? Triathletes are smart people, man. They didn't get to weren't able to afford $700 registrations, because they're suckers. These are smart people, and they know when they're getting hosed, and they know when they're getting taken care of. And so that's kind of like that's what I do.
I'm curious, man, because you, I think you mentioned in one of your videos that you kind of got involved initially in the management side of it a little bit with the announcing or something, and then was there something about you? Obviously, you are a triathlete, and you were for a long time before you started managing races, correct?
Yeah. So I did a race close to my hometown that sucked. I mean, it was terrible. It was 2003. They build this. They advertise the race as, hey, you're going to do this, this, and this, and then afterwards we're going to have this type of post-race whatever with killer awards. So I do the race. It's nothing like it's advertised.
Oh.
Nothing pisses me off more than being sold a bill of goods that just isn't so. So I was like, you know what? Before someone comes into the Wildwoods, this is 2003. Triathlon is in its infancy. There was only like 2 triathlons a month in southern New Jersey at this time. I mean, they were rare. It's like when you could just have a race, and the only reason you knew about the race is because there was a flyer in your windshield from going to another race. There was no like website. It was just, that's the way it was. And so I was like, before someone does this in the Wildwoods, I'm going to do one. Because I'm a triathlete, therefore it automatically qualifies me as a race director.
Right.
Wrong answer. It's like someone going to a restaurant and saying, I like to go to restaurants, therefore I am qualified to run a restaurant. That's why it's the most bankrupt business in the world, is because people don't know what the hell they're doing. Mm-hmm. So I started my first race, and I had a great time, and it made a little bit of money, but I just loved doing it. So I did that one race, Try the Wildwoods, for 6-7 years. And somebody who did one of my other ancillary events, it was called the Do-Op Duathlon. It was a financial catastrophe, right? That's like the common theme.
I was going to say,
financial catastrophe. But, I tried it. It's something that I wanted to do. I tried it, and it didn't work. But one of the people that were the athletes, they heard me on the microphone giving out awards, and I was just killing it. And I didn't have a script or anything, but I knew how to make fun of people, and so that's what I would do at the awards. Yeah, just as many people as I can rip as possible, that's what I'm going to do. But it comes from the heart. It comes from the heart. And this guy comes up to me, he goes, his name was Larry Redrow from CGI Racing, and he goes, listen, you did a great job on the mic. He goes, would you like to be our race announcer for a race we're doing next year? And I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, the race announcer. I go, what do you mean? And he's like, I want to pay you to talk. And I'm like, seriously? Uh-huh. I said, no problem. So I started being CGI's race announcer, and they come from a corporate event background. And once I got on site to see how they operated their events with Excel spreadsheets of when people are supposed to report, and they did it very pro. You know what I'm saying? They did a great job. And I thought to myself, oh, this is how it's supposed to be done. And so I was the race announcer for quite a few years, and I started showing up just to, sling cones and any grunt work that needed to get done, I would do. And I decided, I want my races to get better every year. I want to be a pro at this. And so that's really started my journey on, okay, I know I do this race once a year, but man, I really love it. How do I get great at it? How do I, that little bug stuck inside me, like, how do I do this at a level that just keeps getting better every year? And that's just, just the philosophy.
That's what
if you're not getting better every year, you're stupid.
Yeah. If you're not growing, you're dying. I mean, what everybody says. So what, like, from obviously you've been on both sides of it, and you touched on something else earlier that I think most people don't think about is most triathletes just have, so much just like an income, and race registration isn't something that the majority of the population is like scrambling to do. So you really have to, for the most part, earn their business by providing a great product and brand loyalty, and you've obviously done that. You've obviously done that organically. How does, which I think is fantastic. How does somebody like you? Because I don't see this very often, where a guy like yourself with a with some kind of like just a really almost like cult-like following, balance local races and also something like an Ironman branded event, because I don't see it that much.
So yeah, I am one of the very few people in North America that have their own independent events and that do very well. I'm also an Ironman licensee, so I work with WTC. I mean, I just came from Tampa last week. I had a race director conference and met licensees from South America, Central America, Canada. There's 4 other licensees in the United States, and so I come from a grassroots background, and I know what it's like to put on an event with nothing, where you're broke and you don't have the money to spend, and you figure out a way to make it work, and the athletes love it. And then I'm blessed enough where Ironman came to me and said, "Would you like to do a 70.3?" And I said, "Absolutely." And you don't get to that point by accident. I'll tell you that. I've gone through a lot. I mean, I've gone through a lot in this business. I have screwed up a lot. And I think any person that's achieved any type of success will tell you, yeah, I failed my way there. There's no doubt about it.
Mm-hmm.
And so working with Ironman is great because they're the best at what they do. And, you know, some people might, you may have heard people online banging on Ironman before. You may have heard that.
A few times.
No, triathletes are always very positive.
Yeah, but I will tell you, there is no one in the event industry, when I say event, I'm talking participatory sports, that is as good at what they do as them. They are the best at what they do. And I'm fortunate to work with them and take, when you come from, it's like that Drake song. I don't know if you listen to rap music, but he's got a song called "Started from the Bottom." Now we're here. And when you start from the bottom, you appreciate the bottom. Part of that's always going to be your home. You remember what the bottom was like. But it's great to have an Ironman race and to be the owner and operator of that event, where the buck stops with me with that event.
Uh-huh.
And I think if I didn't come from that one race in my hometown with 250 people, I may not appreciate it as much, and it may not have that cult-like following. I know I just know what it's like to not have all the bells and whistles and figure out how the hell am I going to get this done.
Yeah. So now, when you say that's the belt, the buck stops with you or whatever, how does that relationship work? Because I've always kind of been curious about. I mean, they obviously bring in a lot of people, and like at what level of people do they bring in, and how many? And then, I mean, how many are volunteer? Obviously, the volunteers you're probably responsible for getting. And can you just kind of talk a little bit about how your relationship with Ironman does work?
Right. So for Ironman 70.3 Atlantic City, I am the licensee. So for everyone out there wondering, like, what does that mean? So, well, it's simple. I pay Ironman a fee to have the right to brand that event Ironman. It is one of the most protected pieces of intellectual property in the world, the MDOT. And they've seen what I do. They appreciate what I do, and they said, we're going to give, of the 50 races in North America, we're entrusting you. You're one of 4 people that can do this without us having to do it. So it's a huge honor to be able to do that. And what that means is when you call customer service for that event, it's ringing in my office. When you send an email, it's getting sent to us.
Oh, wow. Okay.
My company is pulling all the permits. My company is organizing all of the volunteers. My company is going out seeking sponsorships. My company is handling all of the customer service, the athlete interaction, all of the emailing. Every single thing regarding this event is handled through my company, Del Monte Sports. It is not handled through WTC.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But what I get in return is I get their backing. They now say, you can go out and crush this race. We've got your back. What do you need from us? I'll tell you what I need. I need your equipment trailers. Bring them in. I need X amount of staff. Bring them in. And, of course, I pay for those things. This is we're all capitalists here. I pay for those things, and it's worth it, and it works. And so Ironman is, they give me the opportunity to leverage their brand, and I do that. And it has given our 70.3 Atlantic City race a very special grassroots feel to it. It's like, wow, it's Ironman, but something's just different about this event. And something is different because I live in this community. I know these athletes. They see me. I toe the line with them at other races. And they know, like, I offer them liberties that they can't do everywhere else. Like, if you are registered for the race and you can't make it, I'm going to work with you to transfer your registration to a different Delmo event. We're going to do things above and beyond because we can. Because, I make the rules.
Yeah.
Most of the time, I'm going to bend them for the athlete. Most of the time.
No, I think that's such a great mindset and way to do business. What would you and because you come from such a unique perspective, with especially like you touched on, like a race like Atlantic City 70.3 that has that grassroots feel that a lot of Ironman events don't have. Ones that I've been at, and one of the questions I always get from newer athletes that I begin to coach is some of them are actually fearful to participate in an Ironman branded event because of sometimes what they hear about certain races. It's too much pressure. It's too it's almost like too professional of a atmosphere for somebody to feel at home who's more apt to be comfortable in like a grassroots environment. What would you, for people listening who were like, man, I'm just getting in the sport and Ironman, the brand seems so intimidating. What would you tell those listeners?
It does. It can appear that way. My recommendation to any first timer out there that wants to get into the world of longer distance racing is the number one thing you should be concerned with regarding signing up for an event is the quality of the production and the safety of that event. One thing that triathletes know, I think, and this is just my opinion, they know that if it's stamped Ironman, there is a certain level of service and professionalism that they're going to get on site. They're going to have enough volunteers. They're going to have enough signage. There's it's going to be safe because Ironman does this hundreds of times a year around the world, and in today's day and age, so many people put on events like this that are not qualified. That we've all done races, man, where you've blown through an intersection and you go, what the hell? Where's the cops? Where's the volunteers? Where's the signage? That's a big deal.
Yeah.
Because 99.9% of the people racing have to go to work on Monday. This is for fun, man. This is not our job. We do this as an outlet. So my advice to people is don't associate Ironman with an intimidation factor. I mean, you will go on site at any Ironman race, branded race. You will see all shapes and sizes. You will see all ability levels. And you will also see the best production there is.
Yeah.
That's what you will see. And I will say this as well, because I'm an independent as well. There are independent events out there that do just as good a job. So my advice is do your homework, research the race. Whatever your race you're thinking about doing, search the reviews. What do other athletes say? And don't take one athlete's thing as the Bible. What does the gist say? Wow, 85% of the people think this is a 4 or 5 star event. Must be pretty good. And then, of course, you're going to get that disgruntled athlete who hates the world. But
No.
that's just the way it is. They probably hate themselves, let's admit.
Exactly,
And then they hate the world. So.
Yeah, man. And you're just talking about volunteers, and I always just marvel at the number of volunteers that Ironman races get. And my first race was Wisconsin, and I think there's like 5,000 or I don't know. It's just insane. But so you started from scratch with the Atlantic City, and or was it already an established race? Or how do you get to the point where you can get like 1,000 people out there volunteering? I mean, what's that all about?
I started a race in Atlantic City in 2011 called the Atlantic City International Triathlon.
Okay.
And that first year had 400 people registered. The very next year had 1,100 people registered. And so there was this thing we tapped on in Atlantic City. And then in 2013, I was approached by Challenge Family in Germany to launch Challenge Family in the United States of America in Atlantic City. So this is like a once in a lifetime opportunity. If none of you out there know, Challenge Family is an organization based out of Roth, Germany, and they have races all over the world. They're very popular in Europe, where they have a lot of races in Europe. They also do Southeast Asia, Australia. And so I knew who Challenge was because I am a triathlete. I know the business. I know the players in the game. And I was like, wow, they're asking me to launch their brand in the United States of America. How do you not do that?
Yeah, that's pretty huge.
So it is huge. And our first race had close to 1,400 people registered. It was a full distance event. So that's a 2.4 mile swim, 112 mile bike, and then a marathon. And we did a pretty good job. We didn't do an amazing job. It was the first year for the event, so there was a lot of things that we knew we didn't know. And that next year, we introduced a half to operate, alongside that event, but registrations dipped considerably.
Okay.
And it was very difficult getting our footing in the ground because you'd say, yeah, Challenge Atlantic City, and people didn't know what you were talking about. And so you'd have to say, like Ironman, and they go, oh, yeah. You know exactly what we're talking about. So, long story short, Challenge Family and myself mutually agreed to terminate our deal. We're going to do a 5-year deal, and we just said, this isn't working out. It's going in the other direction. So, amicably, legally, mutually, made it stop. And immediately after that, Ironman was definitely watching. There's no question that they were watching what we were doing. That year, this is 2015, they were not able to secure the permits for Princeton 70.3. And, I was contacted and said, would you like to produce Ironman 70.3 Atlantic City? We'd like to give you a licensed deal. And you got to understand, there were like only 3 licensed deals in North America. And I was like, yes. And I took my learning experiences from Challenge, Atlantic City, and like anything, and you pour it into your new venture. And my goal last year was, and I will tell you that when we opened up registration on November 1st in 2015 for the 2016 inaugural Ironman 70.3 Atlantic City, we sold out in 9 days, 3,000 people.
Great job, man. Wow.
Yeah. And
you don't see that much anymore.
You don't. And like our registration's open right now. I have about 2,000 people for Atlantic City. It's very common for a first-year race to sell out, but we're doing very, very well. Ironman was very happy with how we performed our first year with that many people. The city of Atlantic City was thrilled because it had a $4 million economic impact. And as you know, Atlantic City is moving more towards special events. Mm-hmm. Their gambling revenue has decreased and because of other competition in the surrounding areas. So they're very special events centric and focused. So it worked for everyone. The athletes loved it. Ironman was super proud to be a part of it. I was super proud, Delmo Sports, and so, we're looking forward to another, spectacular race this coming September 17th. So that's
those are some spectacular numbers, because especially with the North American expansion of so many 70.3 races, you don't see many that sell out anymore, and so that's obviously huge thing for you guys and a great sign. And obviously a kudos to how you guys put on events. But, one of the biggest, not that, God forbid, not that triathletes can complain, but when you do hear a lot of complaints these days, you hear a lot of people complaining that Ironman, the brand, is killing the grassroots triathlon events. And you see it all the time. You hear people complaining about it. And in my opinion, I've said this before on one of our podcasts, I always think more options are better. It's better for the customer. And in my opinion, what it's doing is it's only raising the expectations for these grassroots race directors and event management companies to force them into putting on better events. You can't just, because now there's so many, people only pick the best ones. I mean, I'll speak for experience. There's a company here in town that absolutely puts on horrific events. And I tell my athletes, and they're terrible. I tell my athletes, don't do them because, like you said before, they are not safe. They are, period.
Mm-hmm.
They are not safe. I said, go 7 hours away and do, Muncie 70.3 in the middle of nowhere where traffic is closed for the whole bike course and you can't have a better race from a safety standpoint. But do you feel like that is Ironman and their expansion is has raised the bar to where you either are going to catch up and provide the same experience, or you're going to shrivel away and die because of how broad the brand is in North America?
You nailed it. You nailed it. When I first started in 2004, there were only a few races per month in southern New Jersey. There is now probably four races per weekend. And so you didn't have to be very good because there was no competition.
Right.
And then Ironman was not, back then, they were not who they are now. And Ironman, people like Ironman and Rock and Roll Half Marathon have stepped up the level of production value so that when someone goes and does these events, Ironman or Rock and Roll Half, and they go, wow, that was amazing. When they come back to do the hometown races, and they're not, it's like they're spoiled.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, when are you guys going to start doing this? Or when are you going to start doing that? And my thing was, I want Ironman and Rock and Roll Half to keep up with me. I'm nimble. I can move on a dime. If something doesn't work, I can change it. And I'm small enough. I only have a handful of events. I am a less is more guy. I am high on quality and low on quantity. Right? World-class events along the southern Jersey Shore and Delaware. That's what I do. And so that's my thing. Ironman allowed me to use my app, the Delmo Sports app at 70.3 Atlantic City, and my athlete tracking. I didn't have to use Iron Tracker.
Oh, wow.
I went to the brass and said, listen, I do this I have live tracking in all of my sprint and Olympic distance races. I have an app that I use. It works phenomenally well. Let me use my app. They go, it's your race, go for it, man. And we had a fabulous experience with it, and the athletes loved it. But I'm able to make that decision easily because I'm small enough to do so. So my thing is, when you come and race with me, my thing is, I don't care where you go. You're not going to get it anywhere else. That's my thing. And do I produce better events that are better than everyone else's? No. I'd be pretty ignorant to think that everything I do is better than everyone else's, but we're always trying to raise the bar. Always trying to raise the bar. But you nailed it. Listen, events have evolved. There used to be a time where you could just, throw some bike racks out there, a few cones, and let the animals of the sport just go after it and beat each other up because they really didn't care about getting fancy results or the T-shirts, the medals, or the food. They just wanted to beat the hell out of each other. Uh-huh. That's all they wanted to do. And that's not who your athlete is today. That's a very small percentage. Who your athlete is today, they like the good stuff. They like all the other stuff. And guess what? Those are the people that pay the bills, guys.
Yeah.
Those are the people that pay the bills, and you got to start thinking about them.
Hey, man.
If you're not, you're right. You're going to shrivel up and die, like you said.
Hey, man, on that thing, and I, like I said, I saw these videos where you're kind of going on there, and like you said, you started them because you were kind of trying to explain, whether it was a mistake or something that went wrong or whatever, and then it evolved. But that's what has always fascinated me about what it must be like to be a race director from a complaint standpoint, or just because I'm about 5 years into the game, and I live in Nashville. And I was here when Chattanooga launched, and they had that whole thing about the 116-mile bike course. And, man, I'm telling you, that was unbelievable how long and spirited that debate and argument and bitching was. And I was just curious, like, from your perspective, maybe is there a common thread amongst complaints, or, like, is there stuff that sticks out to you or that you don't think will ever go away, or that you try to combat, or anything like that? I'm sure you get millions of them.
Oh my God, yeah. So here's the thing. You're the typical triathlete. I shouldn't say typical, but most triathletes, man, they're type A.
Mm-hmm.
You're talking about someone that wants to conquer 3 separate disciplines into one. And I think triathletes, they get most upset when they feel that the producer or race director is not being honest with them.
Mm.
I have screwed up so many things in my time, and I will continue to make mistakes. I am not perfect. But when I make a mistake, I immediately own it. And I will do that via video. And I will say, guys, there was a 4-inch lip off of the overpass in Atlantic City. It was supposed to be taken care of. It wasn't. It was my responsibility. For the 42 of you that got a flat tire, next year's event's on me. I'm sorry. It will not happen again. I will make sure we fix this.
Oh, wow.
Well,
What?
you would have thought the second coming of Christ rained down over this event, because they were like, dude, that's awesome. I can't believe that. Thank you. I'm like, my thing is, why wouldn't I do that? Like, I told you everything was going to be good, and it wasn't. I got to make it right.
Mm-hmm.
And so you can't, like, yes, you can get mad you got a flat, but dude, I took responsibility for it. Now let's move on. Because what are you going to do? If I'm denying it, now you're going to really crush me. You know,
Yeah.
but just own it, man. You know how many people don't own it in this world? Like 80% of them. You know,
Yeah.
Stop lying to yourself. You're
Yeah.
out of shape and you drink too much. Stop. Stop.
Exactly, dude.
I'm sorry.
No.
That was supposed to be inner monologue. My bad.
No, I think.
My bad.
Did you really
Yeah.
give them the? You really? If they got a flat, you paid for their entry fee?
Atlantic City Triathlon 2013. You can find it on Facebook. That's
Wow.
an actual video.
Wow, that's incredible, man. Hey, on that tip, and I know, Robbie, I'm sure you got another question, but quickly, I was just wondering, like, how you feel about, because it seems like there was a lot, or a few anyway, like canceled swims and, stuff like that, or shortened courses and things like that. What's your philosophy on that? How do you deal with that? Because I know a lot of athletes seem to get wrapped up in the fact that, like, hey, they promised me this, but I only got that. I mean, I know there's nothing you
Yeah.
can do sometimes, but it has to be a big deal in your world, right?
Yeah, so you got to plan. I mean, you have to have plans A through Z for your event. I will tell you, I've been in that situation where I've had to cancel swims. And in fact, the first year of the Atlantic City Triathlon, we were in a delay to start the race. We had a traffic issue. So in the 40 minutes that this race was supposed to start, the ocean went from relatively calm to just a nightmare. And
Wow.
the first 2 waves that went into the water literally washed into a rock pile. I was like,
Jesus.
oh my God. So we canceled the swim. This is midway through the swim. We canceled the swim. Now I've got a couple hundred athletes behind me, and I'm thinking these people are going to crush me as I'm walking through the athletes. Like, what the hell? They got into the water. We can't. What are we going to do now? And I'm walking through, and they're coming up to me because they saw the ocean.
Yeah.
And they're like, dude, thank you so much. I did not want to go in there. And I'm like,
So typical triathlete. Thanks
Wait,
for
wait.
canceling the swim.
this is the best part. But if I told you to go in, you were going to go in? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
if it's not safe for you. So I've been on that side. And then, like, this past year at Ironman Atlantic City 70.3, we had to shorten the swim twice during the swim due to some pop-up rips in the back bay.
Wow.
And so we had some athletes that were pretty upset about it. And the only thing you can do at that point is when it's like, listen, we didn't plan on it, but we saw a safety concern, we acted, and we're standing behind that, because at the end of the day, we acted on behalf of your safety. I understand you're upset, but it's your safety. That's why I did this.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really hard to get upset with someone when they're trying to get you home after the race. And
Yeah.
then there's other things where, hey, if someone, if you're not going to mark the course correctly, or it's going to be too long, or, there's certain things that happen that, listen, we've all made mistakes. At the end of the day, man, you got caught, you were out drinking, you weren't supposed to. Just say you're sorry and go to bed. Just say, I'm sorry, I messed up. I'm sorry, I screwed up. But athletes don't want to be lied to, and they don't want to hear excuses. They want to hear you say, I'm sorry. And I'm
Uh-huh.
okay with that, because I'm not perfect, dude. Not
That's-
perfect.
You see that all the time, and I've read multiple articles from a business standpoint that if that customer loyalty often is built on you making a mistake and rectifying it completely. And you basically gain a customer for life rather than doing it okay and than they are the actual person behind the brand. And that's what keeps people coming back. I got to ask you though, when are you going to put on a full?
You know how many people are asking me about bringing the full back to Atlantic City?
Just me.
Well, there's a lot on social media, and I tell them, I said, listen, I'm not gonna lie to you. I've mentioned it to Ironman before, and they say just keep doing a great job there. Who knows what could happen? And that's what I tell the athletes. I go, you keep showing up for the 70.3. We keep having great experiences, and opportunities arise. If it doesn't arise, it wasn't meant to be. If it does, it was meant to be.
Yeah, because when they cancel Ironman Maryland here in the next year or two, you guys are going to be up.
Well, I don't wish any cancellations on anyone, because I know no matter what, someone's upset. Someone gets upset, and hey, we had a full in Atlantic City, and we had good numbers the first year. We had really bad numbers the second year. So it's not like it didn't have one, but people love the Ironman brand because of the professionalism that it brings, because of the pizzazz, and Ironman does attract volunteers. People love volunteering it for Ironman because they like to witness people going through these transformational experiences out on the course. And so, hey man, I'm just going to keep doing what I do. And if I'm approached with a great opportunity, I'll weigh the options and we'll see what happens.
Back to your full. Did you ever get to go to see Challenge Roth, or have you ever been there?
Twice.
Oh my God.
Oh man.
Please.
Is it as incredible as everybody says it is?
It's a fantastic event. I mean, no one can ever say it's not a great event. It's a great event. It's a very different event because it's and this is why I'll say it. It's because the people that own the race, they live in that town.
Oh,
I don't think you can do stuff like that when you don't live there.
Yep.
And that's why I think, I live in the communities where I produce, like Escape the Cape and Wildwood and Ace. And so it's different. Like when you're part of that community, you're able to do things that other people wouldn't be able to do because they know you said you're going to do things a certain way. And if you don't, I'm going to see you at the grocery store and I'm going to let you hear about it. So
yeah.
So it's a special race. There's so many races that I want to do in this world, and I'm like, oh my God, like Norseman. I want to do Norseman in the worst way. I want to do Roth in the worst way. I want to do Kona in the Ironman World Championships in the worst way. I want to go back and do Alcatraz. I've done it. It's such an amazing event. I know it's expensive, but it's still amazing.
Yeah.
I wanted to do Wildflower. It was on my list, and the drought destroyed that event.
Yep. Stupid El Nino.
Yeah. So.
Have you done several fulls?
I've never done a full.
Okay.
I've done several halves.
Is there certain ones you really like? I mean, you just said, but is there Ironman brand races that you really like halves, other than yours, obviously?
Eagleman.
Yeah.
Eagleman is a special event. That thing was built. That's an event. Not a lot of people know the full story behind Eagleman, but it was developed by legendary race director Robert Vigorito. And he's the guy that started the Columbia Triathlon, which at one time was one of the top 5 Olympic distance races in the world. Special race. All the great pros came and did this event in Columbia, Maryland, of all places.
Wow.
And he started Eagleman, and he was putting his own money into this race. It was not an Ironman branded race. And a 70.3 race. And for years, he was dumping his own money into it. He had this vision. He would write Ironman a letter every year. Please, I'd like to be a licensed race. Can you please grant us a license to do the event? And every year they said no. And he was giving this event one more shot. It's like, I can't keep doing this thing. I need that extra firepower behind the event in order to make it successful. And he wrote Ironman his last letter. And they got back to him and they said, we would like to offer you a license deal with Ironman to be a Kona qualifier.
Wow.
And that changed everything. It changed everything for that event. And that was, people used to go to Eagleman to qualify for Kona. I did it in 2000 and 2001. I had a chance to meet Pat Tillman in 2001.
Did you?
June of 2001. He was there. And, the guy looked exactly what he looked like on the field. like, whoa, this guy's
Wow.
definitely a professional athlete.
Yeah.
Not a professional triathlete, but you know this guy
Yeah, big
is a professional
difference.
athlete. And that was the last time I did Eagleman. I did St. Croix after that, which is a heck of a race. And so my own and getting wrapped up into the production world. And I'm proud to announce that this year I'm going to go back and do Eagleman 15 years after the last time I did it. I'm turning 40 at the end of the month, and my goal is to go back there and be 40 faster and happier than what I was when I did it in my 20s. So
Wow.
That is awesome. That's such a great story. I'll be 40 in like 4 years, so I can't have that much of a difference. But I have that infatuation with the Gulf Coast Triathlon, and I guess now is Gulf Coast 70.3. It was my 2007, and I know even I think 15 or 20 years ago, the Gulf Coast Triathlon was actually a Kona qualifier. Way back in the day. This is like old school. And I did it, I think, 6 years in a row. And I did it, because it's by the beach, so how can you argue with that? But they just did everything right. Volunteers were great. Everything was just great. And someday, hopefully, I'll go back and do that race again, hopefully before I'm 50. But I don't know. This is the last question I'll have for you. If you could tell or listening or who else, if as far as event preparation goes, what are some of a couple of things you would say are just that you see people overlook all the time that would really just ensure success for them outside of obviously, bad luck and athletic ability, but just generally if you want to set yourself up for success on a race course, focus on X.
So as a producer or as an athlete?
As a producer.
As a producer, better understand very clear why you're doing what you're doing. Why have you decided to go down this road? Because if you are not 1000% committed to that why you're doing it, you will fail miserably because you will allow yourself to go to bed when there's more work to be done. If you're seriously committed, you will have this energy that goes beyond anything you've done. And and the other thing is understand why you're doing it, and then the other thing that people you can get away with not having the bells and whistles, but you cannot get away with not being safe.
Yeah.
You cannot get away with not being safe. So understand why you're doing what you're doing, and understand that you are going to do everything in your power to make this event as safe as possible. And if you cannot afford to close the road or to hire police or to do those things, you should not have an event, because you have the responsibility of these people's lives.
Yeah.
They're your responsibility. They're trusting you. And if you can't ensure that and do everything you're supposed to do, then don't do it. Those are the two most important things. Understand why you're doing it, and that you have just decided to take responsibility for people's lives. It's kind of a dramatic thing to say, but at the end of the day, it's true.
It's true. Yeah, it's true.
We've all been there, man. We've all been there. What the hell? How are they even allowed to do this?
Yeah. Yeah. For sure, man. All right.
That's it. Those are the big two things there. So there you go.
Yeah, no, I thought it was great. I mean, you summed it up. You put the athlete's safety over the athlete's ego. I think that's awesome.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
Yeah, dude, that's awesome. I really appreciate it. I think we could ask you a billion questions, but we'll let you get going here today. I do know that I checked today. Actually, 3 of our top markets are Pennsylvania, Virginia, and New York. Actually, so. That might be kind of cool. Hopefully, we can get you some people up there. I'm definitely interested in coming up there and checking out one of your events. So I'm going to dig a little deeper, and would love to keep in touch.
I would love to have you guys come and jump off the boat at Escape the Cape.
Oh yeah, I saw that, man. Yeah.
There's nothing like it in the United States. The jump is twice as high as Alcatraz. It's not Alcatraz. That's its own event. It's special. I love it. but this is completely different, and it's homegrown, man. It's 10 minutes from my house, which makes it super special.
Yeah, what's the name of that boat with Delaware?
Yeah, the Cape May Lewis Ferry. It's the Delaware.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that picture. I was like, man, I got to do that. And Robbie, you're a big swimmer.
You know me. I love me some open water swimming. Yep.
Absolutely, man.
There you go.
All right, Steve, that's been great, man. I really appreciate your time.
Hey, thanks for having me. I appreciate it, and hit me up whenever. If we can be as candid about anything you want. We don't just have to stick to race directing. We can start laying in on all kinds of people in triathlon.
Perfect. Yeah, we're gonna get along just fine, Steve. You should listen to our other cast. You're get along just fine.
Damn it, we'll call you right back, man. We'll call you right back.
Steve, thanks so much, man.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys. Take care.
Yep.
All right, see you later.
All right, bye.
That was a winner.
Yeah, no kidding, man. That was awesome.
Yeah, that's a big winner.
He just kept going. That was good.
You're not going to find any other race directors like him, just because there aren't that are allowed to put on, that put on their own independent events, and basically he just pays Ironman a licensing fee.
Yeah.
Instead of the other way around. Like, a lot of these RDs, all they do are like 3 or 4 regional Ironman branded. He's just got such a unique situation that even my athlete Blake was telling me, he was like, man, he's just real genuine, and he's obviously built his following organically, which is the way to do it, because they're loyal to you, not loyal to a brand. That's probably why he's succeeding so much as an Ironman event when so many Ironman events are struggling. I mean, I bet you there's probably 3 or 4 that are going to be canceled just in the next 6 to 8 months because registration's so low.
Really?
They're just not for the because you have to think about it. The amount of resources that Ironman has to put towards these races, if they're not making a lot of revenue from it, then it's time to cut bait and find somewhere else where we can put our energy in and get a better return. Because 1,000, 1,200, like places like Buffalo Springs, Texas, huge event, long time. It's been there for forever. Used to be one of the few 70.3 races that Kona, you could qualify at Kona for. I think last year there was like 800 athletes that participated, and for the amount of, cost, there's no way they made money.
Yeah.
Because they have such a great product that New Year races always sell out. They're going to do well the first year because they always sell out. And then if it stays, it stays. If not, they'll pull it up and put it somewhere else, and then guarantee a sellout first year, and then hopefully it succeeds. But they can just kind of pluck them and plant them as much as they want.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah.
All right, man. I'll talk to you later.
Yeah. All right, buddy. See ya.